2 Lam, welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back, man.
It's great to be back.
But, so you were actually, if I remember correctly, you were the last episode that we recorded in the attic of my house. So things have developed a little bit since the last time you've been here.
Yes.
And things have also developed quite a bit with you since we've sent your last episode, and we'll get into some of that. But I'm not going to give you a full intro because you don't really need one. But just for the audience, if you didn't see his first interview, which I can't imagine anybody that hadn't, but retired Special Forces operator, one of the top tactical trainers in the country, a Call of Duty character to include being on the cover, which we'll get into, and now author. So you got the new book out, The Way of Rōnin, which will be coming out on May 21st.
Yes.
We'll probably release this right before then. Just for, what is the book about? Is it your life story?
It's about my life story.
It is?
It is.
So that'll be linked in the description so everybody can go get a pre-order, or if you're watching this after the time of the release, just order it on Amazon.
Please pre-order.
But yeah, dude, I'm so honored that I got one of these. That's like the first copy, right?
You got the very first copy.
The first copy.
Pulled it out of your mailbox.
Yeah, because I was doing an interview.
Eclipse, and you were doing your interview, and I was at your house with Katie and Ruthie, and they asked me to walk all the way down to your mailbox, right? Literally that long driveway, and it was there. Yeah, man. So you got the first copy.
Very honored to have the first copy. So I'm going to need you to sign that.
Yes.
And then it'll get framed and put into the museum that we're building here. But so today's interview is going to be, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Call of Duty stuff. I want to talk to you about what inspired you to write the book, your life story, and get it out there. And then what I'm really looking forward to talking to you about is we've both been on a healing journey since our last interview. We both have gotten into psychedelic therapy. We've explored all kinds of other things that work, and I can't just, you went full into that, and you came out a new man. And so I really want to dive deep into that. But first, before we go any farther and get into the weeds, I have a Patreon account. They're our top supporters. They've been here since the very beginning, even before the podcast ever even started. And so one thing that I do for them is I give them the opportunity to ask the guest a question. And so this question is from Greg, and basically what he's saying, this is a long question, but basically what he's saying is he knows that you train a lot of law enforcement. And what he's asking is, this kind of goes along with our EDC pocket dump, but what Greg is asking is, you're around a lot of law enforcement, you train a lot of law enforcement. Are law enforcement saying that they are worried about the uptick in crime that's been happening? Are you getting any inside gouge on what those guys are worried about, and if they think crime is going to continue to get worse?
So, training literally across America, east to west coast, I'm very intimate with, SWAT teams, street officers, patrol officers, all of them, highway patrol, counter narcotics, and I work with a lot of task force. And I tell you, the main concern is they don't have the support, political repercussions from doing their job, arresting a person. They can lose their badge. If they shoot a person in self-defense, literally, they can lose their badge. Border Patrol, they can lose their badge if they forcefully stop immigrants. So that was the main concern that I saw across, the police departments was that if they do their job, they'll be scrutinized.
Yeah.
Now, there was a few incidents where officers on the side of a road, and they get ambushed. You know, when I was in New Orleans, I was training their counter-narcotics teams in Baton Rouge, and we left New Orleans that morning, and a cop got shot in the face.
Are you serious?
Yeah, literally got shot in the face that morning as we were moving to Baton Rouge because he was controlling street traffic. Do I think there's an uptick in crime? If you don't have the proper law enforcement in place that can execute their jobs, you're going to have an uptick in crime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the biggest concern for law enforcement is that their legs have been chopped out from under them. They have no support from political figures. They have no support from their leadership. And depending on where they're working, they don't have any support from the local community because they've bastardized them. You know, do you see, do the police or the law enforcement guys that you're training, I mean, are they worried about an uptick in crime? What do they say they do now? I mean, how are they, I couldn't imagine being a cop today. I could not imagine it. But what do they, I mean, you see this happening all over in certain states where department stores are just getting ransacked by thugs, you know, and there are states now, I think, that if your home is being robbed, if it's not it's not a light threatening situation, don't even call the police. They're not going to respond. I mean, what are the cops doing now in place of, you know, what they used to do, which is fight crime?
You know, I work with some of the best in the nation, man, and
Yeah.
I tell you, these are great Americans.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, they don't have the proper support, but they're going to do what they do to protect their community.
Yeah.
And I worked around some of the best, and I tell you, like, yeah, you take away their budget, you take away their support, but these are great Americans. They're going to do what they do.
Yeah.
Regardless of your support. But it is a concern to me as a civilian, is that, okay, so if police officers can't respond to their community because their hands are tied, budgeting, manning issues, whatever, so who's going to protect the civilians?
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, nobody is going to protect him. I mean, it's a, you know, I think that a lot of people are, you know, there's that old saying, you reap what you sow. And I think a lot of people are feeling that now, especially the ones that are trapped, you know, where they live, that had that big, you know, the big defund the police movement. Mm-hmm. It's not working out so good. Mm-hmm. Better luck next time.
You know, and people always say, hey, I'll call the police. Okay, so let's just even talk about history. The LA riots, everybody knows about the LA riots, so I'm going to bring it up. You know, there were certain portions of the city that was shut down. And they're like, hey, I'm not going to get to you. So these Koreans are on the rooftop with guns trying to protect their business from getting burned down because they were told nobody's going to come for you. Mm-hmm. So what about the civilians is what I say. You know, and one of the things I do is I train civilians. I train our law-abiding citizens because they need that help, and they're the ones that are going to be the first responders protecting their family and themselves. Law enforcement, yes, that's your job. You're not going to get to them in time, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Touchy subjects, man. Touchy subjects. But thank you for answering, Greg, on my Patreon. So one last thing, and then we get into the weeds. This is probably the only reason you came back here, but, you know, everybody gets a gift.
Yes.
And I know you'll smash those. Made in the USA. Hey, they're still legal in all 50 states. It's been about 2.5 years since you've been on, and they're still legal in all 50 states.
And these gummies are bigger.
Yeah.
They're like bulkier. They're like commando gummies.
But
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, so since the last interview, things have kind of blown up for you, it seems like, and you're already a Call of Duty character. Now you're on the cover of Call of Duty. You got your new book out, The Way of Rōnin, and I mean, things are just going really well for you. And you know, before, I just want to say, you know, it's just nice to see somebody with a platform like you have that is still a very good example to today's youth.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of people that have been on the show that I say that to, but you know, I really mean it. And when I look for guests, you know, and we're going to do a life story on them, I look for somebody that's going to be a positive example to the world. And you have it, man. Like, you're a great example. You have a great message. It's all about love and healing, and it's just, you're doing great things, man.
Thank you.
So
You
thank
too.
you. I
You too,
appreciate
Shawn.
that. But Call of Duty
Okay.
on the cover.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Man, first is a blessing, right? When I say that working with Infinity Ward was a blessing, it was really cool to even experience that in a lifetime, right? To be, you know, doing motion capture. They put me in this tight suit with these balls, and, you know, literally I go out there and I film, right, how to kill people with weapons. It's fun. But the thing is, you know, we were working with them and we built a close relationship with them. They scanned me in the game at Modern Warfare 1, Season 3. I came into the game. And my character was really popular. When I say that, I was the #1 downloadable character.
No kidding.
Right, in Modern Warfare. And they called me back to Hollywood, and I was filming Modern Warfare 2. Right before it was coming out. And at that time, they're like, dude, this is a L-shaped intersection in a hallway. How would you, you know, attack it? You know, and I'm like, how many guys I have? 2 guys. And I would, you know, clear the hallway the way I would, you know, normally clear a hallway. And we clap scepter, enter a room, control the room, dominate the room. So they had all these cones, and I would do these drills. And man, I tell you, you know, I was 45 at the time when I started filming, right? And I tell you, man, like, the older you get, like, because they made me do these movements, right? And I'm in this tight suit, and it's really hot in there, you know, and they got cameras all over me, and they have grid squares on this floor, and you have to perform these movements at a certain grid square. And you look up these huge monitors, it's a different world with your avatar. And they had this speed bar, right? And gradually it will pick up the speed. So literally at one point I was sprinting to try to keep up with that speed bar. And it's a lot of movements. And it reminded me back on the teams, like I would have to go through the shoot house, you know, perform over and over and over. And yeah, we did that, and you know, my character became really popular. And the vice president wanted to do something nice for me, I guess. You know, it was just totally a surprise.
You didn't know you were going to be on the cover?
You know, I knew, but they didn't really say it yet, you know. I kind of like, okay, why are you giving me so much attention? And I would capture these movements, and there was a certain point where, you know, after the photo shoot, so I had a photo shoot, they redid my whole costume. What is really cool about the whole thing, Shawn, is like, you know, I'm a really big samurai fan.
Yeah.
And, you know, I study samurai philosophy, and, you know, it's part of who I am, Bushido. And, you know, Masashi Miyamoto, the Ronin, you know, he kind of influenced me to be a Ronin in this modern world. Why I'm saying that is the teachings of 5 rings, Ishiru, he broke down fire, water, earth, you know, ground. He broke down void, these 5 teachings that kind of guided me through life. Infinity War, so it was my, it was my anniversary. So my wife and I, we flew out to Malibu Beach to hang out at this Airbnb, literally right on the beach, beautiful. They actually filmed that movie Spanglish.
Really?
With Adam Sandler, literally right in the house that we stayed at. They modernized the house, but that was the house, literally. And we would hang out on the beach. And Infinity Ward, man, they're in Hollywood. They drove out. One of the guys met me. He talked about the Book of Five Rings. He asked me a few things. And when they put my character on the title in Modern Warfare 2, Season 2, they redid a whole world around my character.
Folks, we're getting closer to the edge of collapse. Why? Because they're hiding something big. Folks are fighting back and investing in emergency food storage. You should be too. Never get caught off guard by unreliable supply chains like we have been in the recent past. With My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, you'll be ready. Start getting prepared at mypatriotsupply.com. Over the years, My Patriot Supply has helped millions of Americans prepare for emergencies. Each emergency food kit contains delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, sealed inside ultra-durable packaging to last up to 25 years. You'll get over 2,000 calories every day. My Patriot Supply also offers biomass stoves, off-grid heaters, gravity-powered water filters, heirloom seeds, solar generators, and much more needed survival gear. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now and get ready. They ship fast and free and arrive in unmarked boxes. Order by 3 p.m. and your order will ship that same day. That's mypatriotsupply.com. Hey guys, you've heard me talk about them before, and I'm excited to talk about them again. I want to tell you about Hoist IV level hydration. Hoist is made in the USA and has half the sugar and 3 times the electrolytes than some other sports drinks, without artificial dyes or preservatives. In addition to being one of 3 hydration products authorized by the military, they upped the ante for hydration by offering a product with less sugar and more electrolytes. Hoist is on a majority of U.S. military bases globally, serving our warfighters in operations and training. I wish I had Hoist as an option for hydration during my military career, especially my favorite flavor, strawberry lemonade. Also, Hoist offers military and first responders an everyday discount when they use their government ID at checkout, and I really appreciate that. You can use their store locator on their website to find a store near you, or you can purchase directly from drinkhoist.com, where you can use my code Shawn to save 15% off their website. Go check out their website, that's drinkhoist.com, and use my code Shawn to save 15%.
Ronin, so when I say that, so Modern Warfare, they did a whole world where it was Japan. Right, and it had the teachings of the 5 rings in there.
Wow.
And I tell you, man, like, it's very humbling to think, like, my story. Like, I found Bushido at a very young age. I told you that whole story on the last interview. But now that code of ethics, a warrior, man, is being shared to the world in the most popular video game platform. Right, and for me to be my character Ronin, but also to give philosophy to the world. It's very
That's amazing. I did not realize that. Something else that I think is really neat that Call of Duty did is they really, it's you. It's your weapons that you designed. How many Ronin weapons are in the game that you use? Or your character?
Just about every one I use, they have created that weapon.
Which ones are they?
We used M1A. That's on the game. We used the M4 rifle. That specifically how I would rig it up. The teams, right? Mm-hmm. We would rig up our rifles a certain way, and they literally configure that rifle with the camouflage. My pistols.
It's your products though, correct? It's your designed.
It is. So what they do is their artist takes the original design and, through copyright and all that, they have to protect their company and they will change a few things on it. But so my signature on my rifle is I have a gold bolt with a dragon symbol on it. It's a nickel boron bullet, but it's a gold bullet. It's something I wanted that's unique to me, and it was a certain camouflage pattern, and they put that on the game
That is really cool,
with
man.
the optics that I usually run.
Very, very cool. Very cool.
You know the swords.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you, these swords were handmade for me by this blade maker in Japan. His name is Kiku. Kiku has, dude, he's like 3 years backlogged, right? We met when I was filming for the History Channel Knife or Death. He asked me what sword would I like him to make for me. I asked him to make 2 washitashi sword. Washitashi in the samurai sword line is so you have your katana, which is a sword, and your washitashi, which is a short sword. Miyamoto Musashi wielded the short and the long sword, and he called them heaven and earth.
Interesting.
So I asked Kiku to forge me heaven and earth. 2 washitashi swords. Why I'm saying that is those washitashi swords got scanned into the video game. And that's what my character uses to hack up people. So when I was doing motion capture, they had these Kali sticks, you know, the Filipino wind sticks. And, you know, when I worked Kali, I was in the Philippines, you know, doing PSD work for General Warshire back then and training their counter-terrorist units. And I would learn Kali and knife fighting from the Filipinos. So here I am in motion capture studio, killing this guy with 2 Kali sticks, doing Kali, and that translated to my swords on the game.
Very cool, man. Very cool. That is, that has to be, I mean, the video game industry, from what I understand, is bigger than the music and movie industry combined. It's the biggest entertainment industry in the world. And you are on, don't quote me on this, but it has to be at least one of the most popular games in the world. Call of Duty. The Call of Duty franchise is, everybody knows what Call of Duty franchise. And even me, who I'm not a gamer, but I have played it. and just to see their version of you running around doing your thing, that has to be just pretty surreal.
You know, I want to share with you the story, man. Like, so when I was little, I was really into G.I. Joes, right? So I read G.I. Joe comic books. And guess who's my favorite character? Storm Shadow, the ninja, right? I was so drawn to Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, the 2 ninjas, if you guys don't know G.I. Joe. Somehow I became a ninja in a video game, right? Because when they designed my character, he looks like a ninja. Yeah, he has night vision and all that. That's what a ninja would use nowadays, right? Special operations are ninjas.
Yeah.
So the thing is, man, they put a ninja in the game, but back when I was young, like I idolized G.I. Joe, and somehow I became the modern day G.I. Joe. So, you know, it's just kind of funny.
That is very cool, man. But let's move into healing. So at the same time when you left, I think shortly after that, maybe, I don't want to speak for you, but we both wound up in a dark place at some point in time. And we both had found and researched psychedelics. And I think we both, at the end of, I shouldn't say the end of our journeys because it never really ends until it's over. But you seem to be a new man now. And I know that my healing journey continues to change me. And so I want to get into, I think the book was probably part of the healing process. Am I mistaken?
The book's part of the healing process.
So I want to get into, you know, what kind of things you've done to heal your mind and your body. And to start with that, I'd like to start with your daily routine, because you are a very disciplined individual You spend a lot of time working on yourself, both your mind and your body and your family. And so I'd like to, I know you have a rigorous meditation pattern, and so let's start with daily routine.
The morning routine is the most important routine, and the reason why it sets up the framework for the whole day. And a lot of guys, we don't place energy on the morning routine or importance on it because we're so reactive to our day. Being proactive to your day sets up a mindset, a routine, a ritual, discipline. So the morning routine is not easy. It's not easy, and I plan it so it's not easy. 4 o'clock in the morning is not easy for anybody to get up. I choose to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the reason why at that time is the brain is still half asleep, so you're still at slow brain waves, right? So long as I don't spark my dopamine, right, release, which is getting on the phone right away, turning on TV, stressing out, right? Long as I don't do that, I'm still in that slow brainwave. So literally I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, brush my teeth, I let my dogs out, and I have the biomat, right? So then the biomat basically, it grounds me. So when I say that is, you ever woke up and instantly you had anxieties?
All the time.
Yeah. Me too at one point. So that's the nervous system getting taxed, okay? And what you got to do is you got to really focus on your nervous system, not your thoughts, your nervous system. Okay, so that's your nervous system, the anxieties. So initially what I do in the mornings, I want to ground myself. So meditation. Meditation is so important because you're dropping that brainwave to slow brain waves, but you're conscious. And when you're able to do that, you're able to kind of reprogram the subconscious. You're able to influence that. And that's the program. That's 95% of how your day goes through the subconscious, your program. So that's what I focus on first, mind.
So you get up at 4 a.m. and you get on this biomat. Mm-hmm. And the biomat resets your frequencies.
I have to breathe into it. So basically, there is a breathing practice that you have to do. Meditation is a breathing practice. For me, my breathing practice is I go off an old Hindu breathing practice. I have many breathing practices. But in the morning, what I want to do is I want to go into deep inhales and long exhales. Right, and that's the Hindu. But what the Hindu is, they roll their belly. It's almost, they roll their belly on the way out. So when you roll your belly to spine, what you're doing is you're activating the lower abdominal. We breathe very shallow in our day. In our upper lungs, we don't breathe, right? And majority of our energy is stored within the solar plexus area. If you just meditate, breathe into it, you'll feel, oh man, I feel something here. Well, that's the anxieties, and that's the nervous system, right? So you have to be able to breathe into that. So if I do that every single morning, what am I doing, Shawn?
Creating a habit.
I'm reprogramming.
Every morning.
Reprogramming every morning. My mind.
How long does this take you?
I started off, I've tried to be an overachiever sometimes. So I start off 30 minutes. And I couldn't get thoughts out. It got louder for me. But I would sit there every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, man. And I sat there for 3 years, failing every day. Thoughts. I would come out. But then I think about it. It's like, how much stuff have we seen on the teams? Like how, like my background war, like how much stuff have I seen? Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts there. Mm-hmm. So I let it, man. I just let it run, and there was a certain point where my meditation practice caught up, the skill. And I'm able to let go of thought and breathe into emotion. That's how you actually move energy. So in the morning when I ground myself out, if I feel anxieties, that's gone by the time my day hits. See, if you wake up in anxieties, dude, if you don't do anything about it, it drags on all day, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And what happens when you have anxieties? It attacks the nervous system. It puts you in a state of survival. You're not present.
We talked about this, yesterday, I believe, and about meditation and some of the, I was doing great. It's pretty much completely fallen off, and and when I felt like I was getting good at it, it was somebody at one point along the line had told me thoughts are like clouds; they just pass through. And I could get to the point where all of my thoughts would pass through. And then I would go into this, I guess it would be a meditative state, and I wouldn't know how long I would be there. And until I came back to, and once I realized, it's kind of like a realization for me, like, oh shit, I have no more, like, all the thoughts are gone. That to me was kind of like the signal, like, all right, you're done for today's meditation is wrapped up. You can move about your day. And then it kind of fell off, and I tried to get back into it. And I don't wake up with anxieties every morning, but there's especially being a business owner. It's things come up. You know what I mean? A lot, and as I'm sure you can relate. And being a public figure, things come up a lot of hate comes towards me. Also a lot of love, but as humans, we gravitate towards the hate. It's just how we're programmed, right? And so I'll get there, and a lot of times I wind up in this wheel, where I cannot. It's somebody's coming at me or whatever it is, and I wind up in this wheel, and I feel like by sitting there not doing anything, it makes it worse. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I get frustrated. I leave my meditation, and I just go about my day, because it gets that off my mind rather than sitting. Can you relate to that at all?
Okay, so deeper than that. Thoughts, feel, emotion. Mm-hmm. So let's just say you wake up with anxieties. That's an energy, and an energy wants to stay alive. It needs to stay alive. And how do you feel energy? Through thoughts. So let's say you feel anxieties. You wake up and you're like, oh man, I got this meeting today. I got to talk to this guy. Oh God, I got to take my kid here. You have a lot of daddy duties, right? You have a lot of like life duties. So that attaches on to the emotion. If I was to tell you, let go of thought and focus on feel. We have three minds. We have thoughts. We have a heart, and we have a gut. The gut and the heart can be trusted. The mind can't be. So when you're hearing thoughts, let it go and focus in on feel. When I wake up and I have anxieties, right away, I could feel it, right? And I still have it sometimes today. But when I wake up and I feel it, I thank it, because I can release it now. And literally it takes me 30 seconds.
Wow. 30 seconds.
30 seconds to transmute that energy. You can't kill energy. You can't just eliminate energy. Energy's forever. Our soul energy, right? It's forever. But what you can do is transmute energy.
Transmute.
Okay, so let's go back, right? Go back in time where you had a bad relationship, right? And she broke your heart. Mm-hmm. Fast forward that a year later, you don't care. You don't even care. Time heals things. So you transmute it through time. But what if I tell you can transmute it faster than that? Instead of suffering for a year, you can transmute it within, minutes. So transmuting energy is that. You got to feel energy. So energy wants to be felt. Look, everything I'm telling you, Shawn, it took me literally 9.5 years to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And the Green Berets, we're really good at intelligence and understanding the situation. And what happened if the situation, the enemy's you? We're trained how to find, fix, and kill the enemy abroad, but what happened to the enemy's you? So you got to find the patterns. So the patterns was anxieties in the morning. Okay, the patterns was thoughts that controlled me throughout my day, and thoughts are tied to emotion. The more thoughts I have, the more emotions I'm going to feel. So if I can let go of thought and let that emotion pass like the clouds, then it doesn't affect you. You know, I religion-wise, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus, but I also believe that there were great that walked this planet that taught us about God and healing and stuff like that. And Buddha is one. And Buddha taught us about letting go. But what if I tell you, I don't know how to let go? It took me 9.5 years to understand it.
Interesting. Well, what else do you have in your morning routine?
So after I meditate, for now, I meditate 2 hours.
2 hours?
2 hours.
So
And
4 to 6 is meditation.
Because I know I can program myself. I'm not only working on programming ground myself for that day, I'm working on trauma as well. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a lot of trauma. You know, so yeah, I work on that. So whatever energy rises, I breathe into it and I let it go through the biomat. So that biomat moves energy, right? So if I'm able to drop into delta brainwaves and be totally conscious, imagine if I'm injecting positive affirmation into it. So I'm hearing positive affirmation, bypassing my conscious mind and programming my subconscious.
Very interesting. So is it 2 hours exactly of meditation?
Yeah, I set a timer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I set a timer, and usually why I do for 2 hours, that's long meditation, and I like long meditations now because my practice is there for it. But when I first started, it was 2 minutes, 5 minutes, if I can just not talk to myself or think. And now I can go up to 2 hours without thought.
Wow.
So after meditation, then, you know, I go upstairs and I change into my workout outfit. I got a gym downstairs and I start cardio. Cardio in the morning is so important because what it does, it moves the left and right side of your brain. If you're doing alternate movements like stair stepper, if you're walking, if you're running, the alternate movements, it pulls you into the present moment. Right, that's why I like cardio. And also cardio is great in the mornings because I do what's called fasting cardio. So the older you get, your metabolism slows down, right? When you get off the teens, your metabolism is slowed down, whatever your lifestyle is. For me, so I start fasting around 6 o'clock at night. So no carbs and no sugar at noon. Carbs and sugar, if I was to consume it in the morning, carbs I consume in the morning. And then around noon, it's just protein and vegetables. Nighttime, no carbs, no sugar. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm deprived of what? I've been fasting, so I'm deprived of carbs and sugar. Mm-hmm. And I hit cardio right away in a fat burning zone. Man, it burns straight to your fat.
Nice.
You're not burning sugar, you're not burning through carbs.
Nice.
So cardio in the morning. So after I do cardio in the morning, usually it's long cardio. And I don't listen to music. I either don't listen to music and I'm just trying to be present with quietness, or I listen to podcasts that improves me, or I listen to philosophy, or I listen to lectures about neuroscience. I listen to something that improves me as a human being, religion, God. I listen to all that in the morning because in the morning is about positivity. And after cardio, I cold plunge. So after you induce all that inflammation, right? Cold plunging gets rid of inflammation. You know, inflammation can lead to heart attacks, right? So cardio, weight training, it causes all that. So what I do is I cold plunge. I cold plunge for 5 minutes.
You cold plunge for 5 minutes?
Yes. I cold plunge for 5 minutes. After like a minute and 45 seconds for me, my body goes numb and I'm fine. But at first, you'll hit fight or flight. When I say it as you'll hit survival. where you feel like you're going to die. Like your mind is going to say, hey, get out, right? And that's what you want. You want to push through that because on the other side, resilience, and on the other side, it's like dopamine release in a positive way. So imagine, so I cold plunge at 5 minutes, and then I get out, and I don't jump in a hot shower. I let my body warm up itself. So I'm shivering as I'm eating breakfast, and I eat a healthy breakfast, and I go to work, right? So that's my morning.
What do you eat for breakfast?
A healthy breakfast, just steak, egg. When I bulk, right? Just because I'm in Hollywood now, I have to keep a certain image. So I have to eat a certain routine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So how long does your routine take before, how long are you spending on yourself before you go to work?
4 to 9.
4 to 9. So
4 in the
5
morning,
hours of
yeah.
self-work.
And that's just in the mornings.
Very interesting.
And then I go to work, right? And, fortunately, I get to work with my wife and stuff like that. So I go to work, I handle all that, and I break out around 2 or 3, and then that starts my weight training session. I do cardio in the morning. I got to do strength training now. So then my strength training is usually about an hour, 2 hours, hour and a half. When I say that, it's stretching and all that, and the weight training starts. And then right before I go to bed, I preheat this infrared sauna. It's a portable sauna, right? I preheat it to 170 degrees for 30 minutes, and I meditate in it for 30 minutes.
That's a lot of self-care.
A lot of self-work, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I realized at a certain point I wasn't happy. And nothing made me happy. Like when I say that, so after the show, everything was going great because, I was growing in business, but everything was external. I was working on myself through meditation, but dude, meditation can only take you so far, right? And at that point, I didn't realize that childhood trauma has a lot to do with your current state of mental health. And I had a lot of trauma.
Yes,
I was born in war. I escaped genocide. I was left for dead for nearly 30 days. We escaped on the boat, refugee camps, parents divorced, racism. Like I had all those trauma before I even hit 7 years old. Before even the analytical mind was even developed. It went straight to my subconscious. So why am I saying this? Is because we have a mental health crisis in America. Right? And we need to do something about it. And self-work helped me. Veterans, we've been at war for 20 years? It's a 20-year war. It's time that we heal our country. It's time we heal. Like, I don't think we healed after the Vietnam War.
What was, so you've been on, when did we meet? It was about 2.5 years ago, correct?
Like that.
It was about 2.5 years ago, give or take a couple months. You came on the show, we release it, business explodes. We both went and did a psychedelic therapy right around the same time. And I think I went first. Did I go first?
I want to tell you, man, like you were an influencer for me to do it. You went first. So I want to remind you. So, we had our interview and you came back and, you and I became friends and you told me you're thinking about doing that. And I remember one of your guests, kind of ran that foundation and you went underneath that program. And man, the episodes you release, it helped me, right? And also at that time I was interested in it because my meditation, dude, they only can take you so far, seriously. Right? And you went to Mexico, you came back, you shared your experience. You and I, we shared, we talked on the phone and you helped me, right? You helped me get into the program. You sent me the link and I went to Mexico because of you. And I tell you, man, like, I'm going to share my experience about Mexico. I never did. Never did. When I say that, I heard my voices started turning against me. It was telling me to do things, and that's what happens. There was a certain point that your nervous system gets so taxed, and the anxieties are so much. Thoughts get latched onto emotion. Thoughts and emotions are connected, right? So your mind and body's connected. So it has to support whatever you're feeling. And at that point, man, I was bad. So here I am. I go, literally, I think it's right after you, and I go to Mexico. And there was 2 Navy guys, a Marine, and NFL. He did a whole career in the NFL. So imagine the TBI. And Ibogaine was the treatment. So Ibogaine is off of the iboga root from Africa, and what it does, they call it the tree of life, the root. But Ibogaine, it had the abilities to kind of remap our brain, right? It helps TBI, it helps trauma, right? It is one of the most aggressive treatments out there. So I went down there, I loaded up on a van, was moving south into Mexico. I don't even know what I was doing, man. I grabbed my phone, logging waypoints, like in case we made contact, right, with some drug cartel. And, and then we ended up at the safe house. It looked like a CIA safe house, at least, right on the beach, same place you were. And, you sent me pictures, so I knew where you were sitting, looking at the beach underneath, that overhead. So I knew what you were doing, when I was there. And I tell you, man, so I want to go straight to the treatment. You got doctors, you got everything there is legit, it's in a safe house, and it happened at night, so they saged the area to get rid of, whatever bad energy, and we prayed, we invited God, Jesus, and love, and man, I took the Ibogaine, and they had these little pills, and I'm really sensitive, so it hit me faster than any one of them, right? And I remember, the Navy guy was right next to me, and he had the huge mirror, like you talked about, and my face started shifting, and I wanted to see my face warp and bend, but man, I started getting nauseous. I started vomiting over myself, so I laid down, right? And I put that mask. I think I was the first one. Man, I tell you, man, everybody else had these amazing experience, and all I felt was fucking pain and misery for 15 hours. The worst I ever felt. And man, there was a certain point where I felt like somebody was ripping out my hair. When I say that is, I had all these really negative thoughts, and it was consuming my mind. And I felt like some old guy, literally I felt him on my chest, ripping my hair out, but he was actually pulling out these negative thoughts. And thousands, hundreds of thousands of thoughts. And it was all negative, It started off with my military career. I could feel it literally as he was ripping it. I could feel thoughts and emotion, and it's just, all it was just anxiety. If I had a gun there, I would have ended it. That's how horrible it was for me.
Wow.
And every anxiety, everything I felt, loneliness, everything just kind of rushed. And then, man, you're so nauseous, right? Under that, any movement, you're so nauseous. I'm vomiting, and the things I'm seeing that's coming out of me is not this world, it's evil stuff. And, dude, at around 6 o'clock in the morning, you kind of come to, and literally I could almost see the smoke on the ground from us. And all of us are exhausted, like we just went to war, And man, I started crying, and I wanted to vomit. I remember that freaking stupid freaking African music was going. I had enough, so I ripped off all my stuff, all my heart monitor. I ripped it all off. I ripped out my IV. I was done. And of course, the paramedics grabbed me and put me back down. But dude, I was done. I was worse off than I ever was. The voices was so strong now. They carry me two guys carried me to my room. They laid me in bed. The walls were moving. Everything was energy. If I had a gun, I would have ended it. It was horrible. And it was horrible. So then our mutual friend in Mexico came in and he's like, you feeling all right? And I was like, no, I'm not good, man. And he said, well, if it makes you feel any better, Shawn was worse off than you. And I don't know, man. I instantly felt better.
Oh, great.
I instantly felt better. I'm like, really? Are you serious? Shawn was worse? And they're like, dude, he was a lot worse. And I don't know. I just felt better.
I'm happy I could take a small part in that.
I was still in it for a long time, so they actually had to put me down with some sleeping pills. I cried sleeping because I didn't know how I can live like this. The voices were strong, man, and that energy was dark. Mm-hmm. So I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning, and it looks like a scene out of The Christmas Carol. You ever seen The Christmas Carol when he jumps out of bed? He's like, oh, it's Christmas Day, right? And he's all happy. I jumped out of bed, and I didn't hear the voices anymore. And I opened up the window. I'm right on the beach. I could hear the beach. The wind was blowing. I was like, oh my God, it's a beautiful day. And I literally I ran outside. I jumped on I felt the grass and the palm trees and earth. It was beautiful. But then within a few hours, I had to, smoke the 5-MeO DMT, that toad venom. Mm-hmm. And tell you the truth, I was petrified of that toad venom stuff. I was last in the order, so I'm hearing everybody outside. It can be loud, mm-hmm. Right? It could be scary. So it was kind of like the gauntlet. So I'm the last one. I come out, and there's this big stone frog looking at me. And, he looks like a crack pipe, and he hits it, and handshake. And then he gave me the full dosage. And, like you, I saw the light, and I came through, and everything became one, and I asked to get hit again. He hit me again. I went back through, and what I would say I felt, I didn't see anything. People, say they saw all this images. For me, I didn't see anything. The only thing I felt was love, man, like love at a level that no human being can ever love you. And I knew it was God. And I was kind of floating out there because you kind of lose sense of your body, right? You're out of your body. And I felt gravity pull me back to my body. And at that point, I was in so much pain anyway, so I said, I didn't even know who I was talking to. I was talking to God, really. I was like, what the fuck do you want me to do? What's my purpose? And clear as day, it came through me through like a thought. And it say, well, you're the celebrity now, why don't you make your words count? So, I've been trying to make my words count ever since.
Do you think your words didn't count before you did this? Because, too, you've always had a very positive, encouraging message. Mm-hmm.
I didn't talk about God.
This is true.
There was a lot of Asian philosophy and, philosophical martial arts stuff. And yeah, that leads you to God, and that's a practice. But I pursued violence at one point, Yeah, I need to talk about God. I need to walk in that path of that. And that's what I came to realize, So I came down, entered my body, I cried, on the beach, reborn. Well, what's that even mean? So I come back home, And the thing about these treatments, it remaps your brain. So you don't have any more like negative, like you don't hear the voices. You go into what's called honeymoon state when you come back. Like if you go on these treatments, you got to make sure you come back to a peaceful environment or it can fuck you up. You know? I didn't come home to a peaceful environment. I had to jump right into it. And, you know, for me, that was the first time that, man, I just didn't know what to do anymore, right? The trauma, whatever happens, it burns from your frontal lobe right to your rear. So that, you know, coming back home and having to deal with certain traumas, man, it can really mess you up. And, you know, when I came home, it really messed me up. It put me on it put me on a horrible path. I was worse off now.
What do you want to go into what you came home to?
No.
Okay.
No, but the thing about that is like, you know, everybody has, you know, nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we made mistakes in the past. I tried to write my past. I couldn't. And the thing is, man, it burns right into your subconscious after this treatment. Think about it, you remapped your brain. Mm-hmm. You came home and I don't know if it's a deeper scar, but I tell you, like, I was worse off than I ever been. And I want to tell you, man, like at that time, business was growing. Clients were growing. My training was successful. I'm going to cover a Call of Duty, photo shoots, sponsors. Inside, I was in hell. You know, and I put on a good face, right? Where Spec Ops guys were good at that, putting on a mask. So I did. I put on a mask. I went out there and smiled in front of the people. But inside, I'm dying. I went to, I spoke to 1,000 narcotics officers. I'm standing there talking about motivation and happiness. And inside, I'm not. Right? Even at the Vets Gala, when I was the keynote speaker, they asked me to speak, so I'm going to speak for the people. I'm going to speak for us so we can get our treatment. But dude, I'm not 100% healed. Right? So I'm being this person that I wasn't healed, you know? And literally, I was on a photo shoot for Call of Duty in Utah. And the very next day, our mutual friend, flew in to give me the 5-MeO because I was that bad off. The 5-MeO, the toad venom. Mm-hmm. So I came home, man, and he saved me.
How did that differ? How did that, one, this was the actual real toad venom, correct?
The organic, yeah.
Before,
synthetic.
In Mexico was the synthetic. How did that differ?
Different.
Was it different?
Anything that is human or man-made, it doesn't have the God in it, the spirit. When you eat a plant, it came from an organic root that was made by God. God is in all things. So when man makes it, it's not from God, it's from man. When I smoked the organic 5-MeO DMT from our mutual friend under ceremony, when I say that, you got to open up that space. There's certain process to do this in, and you know, messing with the spirit world, you don't want to fuck around. You want to come in protected. So he protected me. I died. You know, and I went through that light again, felt God, cried, came back down, came back up, right? So I did it 8 times. And what you do is, so the 5-MeO is such a strong DMT, it's very fast acting. Dude, it clears energy. So within our energy centers, right, you got your chakras, right? Very Hindu in teachings. But you got your center line, energy centers, your root chakra, your heart chakra, all these chakras. And what happens is energy gets stuck within our solar plexus. You ever feel tight around here, Shawn?
All the time.
All the time, right? Because that's where the energy gets stored. So that's why meditation is so important for you. So it gets stuck right here. So what am I telling you? Your energy never even makes it to your heart.
So are you saying energy, is it initiated in the gut?
Well, that's where the trauma is. So we want to clear negative energy. You want to clear negative energy. So if this is negative energy that's stored in the gut, you got to breathe into the gut. Right. And what I found is, dude, that's so, like, you could be a meditator for 15 years and maybe you get to 10% of your trauma. Fuck that. I need to fast forward this process. So that's why psychedelics is important.
Can you go through the chakras? Do you know them all?
You have to shoot, I don't know the name, but you have your root chakra, which is literally in your groin area. And you have another chakra in your navel, and then your solar plex, and then your heart, and then up in your upper lung area here, and then your throat. So there's 7 chakras, and then you have the enlightened chakra to kind of over your head, because energy kind of drapes over like a waterfall around you. And people tell me, man, gosh, I get so many people tell me, oh, don't exist, the energy. God exists. God is the purest energy. And we are just a ray of light that's connected to the source. So you're energy. So if energy is stuck here, you need to know a practice of moving energy. The ancients, our ancestors, knew this practice.
How do you think we get disconnected from the source? That's an interesting way to put it, that the chakras are aligned and that we are all energy connected to the main source. We had spoken about this yesterday, but
Shawn, beautiful family. You have a beautiful family, man, and I met your kids, and at that age that they're in, they're connected. Mm-hmm. They're not impinged by trauma and the impurities of this world. So that's your chakras. So that's why you see a child always happy and playing and talking to themselves, because that's the way we should be. We should live in that state of joy. But we can't because we store energy here. First, we don't know how to release. If I say, hey, if that energy's there, let it go, Shawn. How? Okay, first. Second, do you even believe that everything is energy? Not everybody believes that. Everybody sees this physical world as it. And you know what? You got a right to believe what you believe. But if you want to clear energy, you got to believe in energy, right? So if it's here and it's impinging, how can you ever, your center vessel, ever have connection to the source? You're impinging it right here and here through thought. So you can never hear the source. And you ever had your son be misbehaved, and there's no sense talking to him right then?
yes, I have.
So what about Shawn, who is angry and has anxieties and don't want to sit still in meditation? You ever think you're going to hear the source?
No.
Okay. So, it's in the Bible, sit still, know that I am God. God is everything, but you have to sit still. And that goes back to meditation. People try to throw meditation on me as like a religion. Oh, he's Buddhist. No, I'm Christian. I meditate. It makes me a better Christian. Seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we lose to source, and also our choices. We got free will. Think about this, man. If you sustain trauma and neglect from 0 to 7 years old in your subconscious mind before you even can think, and that's 95% of your program, don't you think you're kind of behind in life? You think you're going to believe in God unless you're raised in a family that teaches you God and values? What happened if you're not raised in that? What happened if your background's about survival?
Mm-hmm.
It's different upbringing, right?
You think we have free will?
That's a deep question. So I feel that God controls all things. Controls all things, you know? And I think that we have free will in the choices we make. Do you choose the source, or you choose desire? Your desires, your personal desires, which is for us is sin, really. You choose God, or you choose. I feel like that's our freedom of choice.
It's interesting you say that. I've thought a lot about this. I mean, it's one of the paramount questions of all humans and Christianity and probably every religion. Do we actually have free will? And I've actually come to the exact same conclusion. I think the only thing you can control in your life is whether you believe and accept God or if you don't. That's it. There's no other, I don't think there's any other free will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're the only other person that I've heard say that.
Oh, good.
Talked to a lot of people about this offline, and because I think it's one of the most fascinating questions. But
you know, I don't want to.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Working on myself. You know, I have a choice. Okay, so I'm going to geek out here. Star Wars, right? Jedis. And so after the Jedi War, look, I don't even watch Star Wars, but I know the storyline. So you got these warriors, these elite warriors that come back after war, and some of them, they reach a still point. Do you choose the light or do you choose the dark side? And there's two practices. Do you practice the light, which is spirituality, God, or do you practice darkness? Right, sin. What do you live in? And it's kind of like the Jedis, right? They come back and you have one that's, you know, talks about Zen and being focused and humanity and compassion, and the other one's destroying the universe. When we got out of service, the team guys, man, we all reached a point of, I call it the still point, where you have to make a decision. And you and I have peers that went down the dark side, drinking and womenizing, and where did it lead them? Usually leads them to suicide. And then you got guys like us who, like, you know, look, we're not perfect, but man, we're going to spend the rest of our lives trying to be, at least, right, and following the word of God. So that's the light and the darkness, and I feel it's very like, you know, Star Wars in that, you know, analogy, you know, and I see it in our peers. You know, when I see my friends turn dark, their eyes turn dark. You know, so. Psychedelics, though. So then the 5-MeO DMT, you know, he really kind of gave me a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, I don't know how to navigate that. So when I say navigate is there's a certain surrender that you have to do to these psychedelics. And at that point in the game, I didn't know how.
You know, before we move on, that's a great point, because when you, for me included, I don't know anybody that hasn't faced the death experience. Mm. And not everybody that I know had a great experience on both Ibogaine and 5, but especially the 5. It takes a lot of courage to willfully die. It takes a lot of trust. I mean, how did you... I feel like you don't get a full breakthrough unless you have the courage to die. And I think a lot of people that go and they're hoping to get healing from 5 don't have the courage to let go and die. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not calling anybody, you know, a wuss or scared. I mean, it's the most frightening experience of my life, because you, in your own mind, you are dying. You are 110% certain you are dying. And it takes some people a long time, to actually have a breakthrough on 5. And some people break through on the first time. Like I broke through on the first time, but I let myself die. What was it for you that did you willfully die?
Not at that point. And I didn't know how to die. So then that happened, and then, being at the Vets Gala, being the, keynote speaker, man, it introduced me to that community. Like, I got the best healers in the world. I got, right there, meeting them. And one of the guys that I met, I'm going to secure the location because it's a very close-knit community of Spec Ops guys, and they have these safe houses that we go to around the world that I don't want to expose location. But there was a guy I met, and he was a healer using Wachuma.
What is Wachuma?
Wachuma is a masculine psychedelic cactus, right? So you heard of ayahuasca. So ayahuasca is a vine in the Amazon, and like I said, each psychedelic or each plant has a spirit. It has a spirit. So when the toad entered your body, that was a spirit entering your body. It feels different, right? So the feminine plant of ayahuasca from the Amazon vine, it's a feminine teacher. So they call her grandmother. And Wachuma's grandfather plant. So, in the healing process, a grandmother, how would she heal you? She'll yell at you and be mean to you, really, but she'll end up loving you. She loves you. And the grandfather sits you on his lap and say, yeah, I too messed up, man, and it's going to be okay. So a compassionate psychedelic plant. So Wachuma was found by natives. When I say that, during the expansion west, they're wiping out Native Americans. And they're, killing generations of them. And there was this story of a female. She was in the desert, and, she was dying of dehydration. Right? She's running away from the Westerners who wiped out her village. And she was delusional, and then she saw this cactus, and the cactus said, drink me. So she did. She cut open the cactus and she saw visions, right? And the vision was, take me back to your people and let me heal you. So for generations, this cactus has been healing natives. I mean, think about the trauma they've been through. So the healer that I was introduced to, he's a white guy, long white hair. He looks kind of like Jesus, skinny guy, but the natives go to him as the healer. So this guy's legit. He's known around the world. Here he is, my friend. So, I went to, so I've been doing Wachuma 9 times now, right? So you drink, so there's this cactus, and they brew it into a tea, right? Under the full moon. So there's this whole ceremony behind it and everything. So they brew it under full moon, and then I drank like 3 cups of it. So they open up the ceremony. We go to this retreat, that supposed location, and they open up the ceremony with clearing the space, only invite God, Jesus, love. He opens up the corridor. And that's really important because you and I, okay, if I was to say analogy-wise, you and I are sitting underwater. We're all underwater. And things move underwater and things brush up against you. There's always things in this empty space. It's not empty, if you believe in energy, right? So we drank it. The cup he basically closed off that space so negative energy can't get into this space. And what it does, it's so bitter. Like this cactus, dude, it's nasty stuff, right? It's just really bitter. But the bitterness, what it does is stirs up your lower abdominal. It stirs it all up, right? And there's a certain point where it goes up right into your solar plex area. And then it bottoms out. Basically, it drops out and your heart opens. Right? It's really weird. Like when I say the heart opens, if I was to describe it, the heart is the biggest mind, the biggest muscle. When I say that is energy-wise, the heart produces more power, more energy that radiates out from this chakra than any other chakra. They actually,
What is the feeling like? I mean, we've spoke pretty in depth about a blocked heart, and I remember talking to you the first time you came back from doing cactus, and I have very suppressed emotions. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to. How do I say this? I feel like my heart has become calloused, and it's very rough, and I don't feel a lot other than anger. And I'm not saying I'm angry all the time, but it's like I'm missing emotions. At some point in my life, I had lost the ability to feel certain emotions. And I do feel gratitude and I do feel happiness. I'm not going to lie. Especially gratitude is it's not often, and it's far and few in between. And so when you say that the heart unlocks, are you feeling all of these emotions?
Mm-hmm. No, what I feel is the heart is outside my physical body. The energy radiates outside I can actually feel the heart energy radiating outside my body.
Okay.
So heart opens. So the whole thing about this whole treatment, right? So it's not just the
Hold on. Is it like an intuition? Like you feel the energy going out? Is it love? Is it gratitude? Like, is it rage releasing? Like, what is the feeling?
Expansion of the heart.
So would you say it's intuitive?
If I was to feel my heart, imagine that expanding past your body. No love, not any emotion. You just kind of feel it growing.
Okay.
Like imagine a heart getting bigger, but the energy radiates outside the body.
Okay.
Right? So then it goes, okay, so now you open up your heart chakra, that bitterness dropped out. So now those emotions are going to start going up. Right? So all your suppressed emotions that you push down into the lower root chakra, now it's going to start coming up. And imagine it hitting your heart. So the practice in the Hindu is that you got to find a still point. So still point is on the deep inhalations and long exhalations, you let go of thought and you focus on the feel. There's no thought there. You're just feeling that emotion and you breathe into it and you roll your belly, right? And once that medicine drops out, I would tell you there's a certain point on the deep exhale that the body takes over. So if you know those vacuum bags and you pack clothes in it and you suck out all the air for the vacuum. Mm-hmm. Well, imagine when you're deep breathing, there's a certain point where all that oxygen getting sucked every portion of your lower, like you can feel it leaving. So what you're doing is moving energy. At that point in my knowledge of the cactus, energy start moving. So literally it is energy. It's a surge of energy. It looks like a bolt of lightning, right? So there was a certain point where I would lay there and I would sit straight up because the energy just locked me straight up, right? And it'll slam me back down on the ground, and it'll rotate my shoulders, right? And it'll pull. It looked kind of like The Exorcist, but totally not. I'm conscious. And it was slam me back down to the ground. And there was a certain point, like throughout my practices, I would say about my sixth time I was in, I knew how to control energy. So as this energy surged, I would move, like jujitsu, I would just move and play around with the energy, right? And then there was a certain point where I found my still point, where energy is just moving through you. And you're sitting, it's almost like a mountain and wind, right, blowing through. I felt that. And energy was literally just moving through my body, right? And, dude, I want to tell you, man, like, at these treatment centers, dude, I had a damn neck Red Squadron operator. I had a C Squadron operator from the unit. I had my ex-teammate. These are the baddest dudes I know on the planet, like this group in these units. And they're there. They're there, man, like trying to find God. And I know you and I, we talked about this. Do you think it's a coincidence that you and I are on the same journey? And every warrior that we know that was worth a shit is on the same journey? I tell you, like, if there's a holy war, wouldn't God wake up his warriors first? And I'm seeing my peers there. And dude, they're petrified. This Red Squadron, damn neck, holding a cross, shaking, because we're about to drop in. So dropping in is when we are in this room and we're all meditating together. And when you get the same people in the same room, in the same frequency, breathing, it changes the game, right? It moves energy. So there was a certain point, man, that, so I want to say this was my seventh time. And it was telling me I needed to go deeper. Going deeper is inhalations and exhalations all the way to your abdominal. And I exhaled out and I had no more air. And I heard the voice tell me to go deeper. When I say the voice, it's the cactus. It's a spirit. And you don't hear a voice, you just know what to do. You don't hear anything. You just have a feeling. It's like a bird had a feeling how to fly. When he kicks off the nest, the mother didn't teach him how to fly, right? I just had a feeling to go deeper. It got to a certain point where I had no more air and it said go deeper, so I knew what it meant. He was telling me to die. Can you imagine, like, inhaling in your nose and exhaling out to the point where you have no more air and you continue to go until you die or pass out? That's what it's telling me to do. To die. And, man, I'm at this treatment center and I had my wife back at home and I literally said goodbye to her because I was going to die. So I got in, man, and they got all these tribal instruments. And what it does is they play these tribal instruments when you're breathing, this Hindu practice, and it moves energy. So vibration, sound, moves energy. It moves that trauma through your body. And this medicine's telling me to die. Man, so I inhaled in. And I got scared, so I exhaled out, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to die now, right? And I got scared again. So it took me a few rhythms in order to say, okay, I'm going to die. So then I exhale out, man. If I was to like put an image on it, it's like we're free diving down deeper into the ocean. And as you off gas, right, at some point you start trickling, right? And then you have to off gas. And then you can see darkness. When I say darkness is, dude, I had my eyes closed, we were on a mask, right? But I could feel it engulfing my body. And Man, I kept on exhaling. I got to the point where you can almost, I felt like I needed to urinate on myself. I was dying. I was losing, control of my body. I was going there. For the first time, man, I saw my first vision.
What did you see?
Well, at first I felt my ancestors. I felt them. And the deeper I went, dude, I saw a garden open up. And I saw Jesus. And I saw Buddha, and I saw Krishna. All the saints. It was exactly how I thought Jesus would look. And I kept on going deeper in the hole, and I died. When I said I died, I exhaled out, and to the point where literally I passed out. But what happens is the body resets. So there was a certain point when I was dying, and I kind of saw the visions, and the deeper I can go, I can kind of see more of it, that unveiling of what's on the other side. And your body resets. So basically, I had my eyes closed, right? So then I felt like a defibrillator hit me, and my heart opened up again. And I was breathing, and then this time my body was just shaking. Trauma was leaving, right? I hit that point of surrender. Clear as day, die again. So I died again, and my heart exploded. Die again, died again, died again. I don't know how many times I died. And then it got to a certain point and said, okay, that's enough. And I went
What would
out.
you see was it the same experience every time you died?
No, after I died the first time, it was like I just triggered. Now I know how to release. And my body was releasing energy, and everything was moving through me. But that was the point. It was teaching me all this time. 9 times it took me, right? It was teaching me to die. And I was shaking. And anyways, I got out. I ran outside, because you got to ground yourself. When you say ground yourself, is you got to touch earth. And, earth was pulling energy from my body. People that has gone through this healing would know what that feels like. You're literally, it's pulling energy.
Like the earth is absorbing.
Yeah, you're shaking, and it's pulling energy. You could literally feel it. And that's the trauma. And I heard from the healer, this is not yours to keep. It's the earth. Give it back. We came from our dirt, and we will return to dirt. Our physical body, at least. Our soul is eternal. So here I am now. I know how to release. And then with the biomat that was there, man, I move energy. And I tell you, man, it's like, so remember I told you the nervous system gets taxed? So imagine you're getting wind up. That's why they say, oh, you're nervous. Oh, you're all wound up, right? And it literally is. Your nervous system is wound up. So every time you're shaking, you're releasing, you're unwinding that nervous system. Bro, I used to get up almost every morning with anxieties. Almost every morning. And I'm a big disciplined guy. Mm-hmm. Still, I was failing. That's why you need the psychedelic, because it speeds up your meditation practice by freaking 20 years. Now I know how to do it. Okay. So then I went outside and I told the healer, he told me to die. And he looks at me, he's like, uh-huh. Just normal like that. I'm like, so I did. He goes, uh-huh. And I'm like, what's that mean? He goes, well, actually, that's an old Hindu practice. Yogis used to do the same practice without being on psychedelics. Can you imagine right now you're sitting there off gassing until you pass out? It's so painful right here. It's so like drowning. You know that pain you feel in your lungs?
Yep.
That's the pain I felt as I was dying, taking my last breath. So, man, I died and I died again. And then I started seeing, our mutual friend, he always said, I get the download too. I don't even know how to take that. Besides, I am connected.
Do you think you'll do it again?
Yes. So, one of the things I do is, I have a lot of work to do still. Thank you for saying I've gone a long ways, but I have a long ways to go still. I sit in the spring and fall with Chima. As these sakuras are blooming in the spring, I would sit with the medicine. And as the leaves turn colors in the fall, I would sit with the medicine. And I do that because it's very samurai, right? But literally, that's the time I need to process and train. Because the medicine teaches you take it back to your everyday life. Then you come back, it teaches you another lesson, and you take it to your everyday life. Okay? So now I knew how to die and surrender. So I thought that I knew it all. I thought the medicine taught me what it needed. The thing about the medicine is the ultimate Kung Fu teacher. Kung Fu lesson, seriously, When I say it is the Kung Fu lesson is he who's mightier than he who controls his own mind is mightier than 1,000 times 1,000 men and 1,000. That's an old Kung Fu lesson. And it was trying to teach me this. But I already died. So in my mind, I won this war. I know how to release. So the last day, we drank more cactus than we ever drank that day. And you're on your third day, so your heart is fully dilated, open. So this means you can drop in really easy, right? Really easy to that still point. I thought I knew it all. So I went in and it was telling me to die. So I'm like, okay, in my mind, I knew my body's going to reset. So I started off-gassing. And at the point where your body resets, this time it didn't reset. I knew I was going to die. So I off-gas again. I'm waiting for that body to reset. And my lungs were hurting. Like I had no more air and I'm trying to push. And it wouldn't reset. Every time I would come out of it, my body would start shaking, but I wouldn't reset, as in I wouldn't die, my heart explode, right? So I'm like, what is it? Because the plant is always teaching you something. I'm like, what are you showing me? So it says, go deeper. So this time I went deeper and my ancestors showed up again. And they were in this Vietnamese, we call Aoyai, this outfit, this ceremonious outfit. And I felt like it was my grandfather. He told me to die and hurry up because he was very impatient. I felt that. So I off-gassed, and then this time my body wouldn't reset, and I got to a certain point where I just couldn't do it. And I tried to kill myself, like literally, I really did, but there was a certain point of consciousness that I knew I had maybe a little bit more in me. So, like God is in everything, right? So why not in you? So why are we looking for everywhere else when it's right here? And that's what the cactus taught me. And now I apply it to my everyday life. I do stay away from the hard psychedelics these days. I don't need it. The hard ones is 5-MeO. Changa is another one. So I smoke changa. Changa is this DMT, fast-acting DMT, but it just attacks you different. You'll feel this energy move up your spine, your energy center, to clear that energy. It's a ride. It's a ride. But that's what that's what I've been doing since our last conversation, and in between that, working on myself and also working on my marriage, like just trying to be a better person for my wife, and I want to talk about this, man. Like when I was when I was in my 20s and I first came to teams, dude, the teams, and I'm pretty sure it's same with the Navy, like the A teams, dude, high divorce rate, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
very high, especially young age on the teams. You're always gone.
Yeah.
In Okinawa, I was gone 10 months out of the year, right? And so when you see the older guys on the team, man, they're barely holding a marriage together. They're not happy. They're a bunch of alcoholics, right? And you're just a young team guy. Like, you don't think you're gonna end up like them?
Yeah.
And I served a whole career, on the teams, and I would tell you, like, marriage was really hard, like, because it's a lot, like, to be at a certain level in the military, it's got to be about you. To sharpen that sword, it's got to be about you. Like, to go to our training and all that, like, you're always gone. You have to, it's got to be, if you want a career, or like you want to excel in that, it was about me. And, Ruthie, she was a strong girl. Like, she put herself through college. She used to work at a gym as a desk receptionist. Like, she started from the bottom. And as I deployed, she got her master's degree. And I never even, like, because I was so stuck in my own lane, war, hate, that I ever even, like, take time to go, wow, you sacrifice a lot. Right. So I continued to do my thing. And when I got out, I hit my dark time, and I couldn't be that guy that, I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take a step back, and man, she stepped forward, for me. And, she has a master's degree in business and accounting. She built her company, like, logistically. I'm the face, but man, she runs, like, she does all the background, I couldn't do it without her. And as when we first got out, I was going through depression. I was, and for for 3 years, she was in and out of the hospital. She had a lot of medical issues. She had a tumor that they found. So a lot of surgery, man, and you just kind of see your wife, like, her health isn't all there, and you realize it's all, like, temporary, right? So that kind of started changing me in that aspect. I wanted to be better for my wife,
How is your relationship now after all the different ventures you've taken for self-healing?
Oh, man, our marriage is the best it's ever been. Seriously. Financially, we're successful, but also, like, to work with my wife, like your business partner,
Mm-hmm.
and, we respect each other's lane. She supports me in everything I do. Like, she's my best friend, and man, just to have that moment with her every day, it's amazing, and she's an amazing business person. Like, we go into these big business deals and these big time CEOs and president of big companies, and she usually gets what she wants, she's honest and she's a good person and she knows what we're worth, but yeah, she usually gets what she wants, and she's the reason why I'm better today, right? Because I wanted to be better, but also, like, business is her. I'm truly grateful.
Man, I'm so happy for you guys, man. You're a new person, and you're a lot happier. I can see it. I mean, there is a peace about you now that I didn't see before, and I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get into how the book helped you with your healing journey. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all carry around different stressors, big and small, and at times we keep carrying them around rather than processing them and letting them go. Keeping everything bottled up can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe place to get things off your chest. Therapy from BetterHelp is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. It's for everyone. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Shawn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Shawn. Those of you that have been around SRS for a while know that we take mental health very seriously here. So seriously that in almost every episode, you'll find a segment where we discuss how to improve your mental health. And part of improving your mental health is keeping your mind sharp. And part of keeping your mind sharp is giving it the fuel that it needs to balance energy, focus, cognition, and just regenerating your brain. That triggered me to go on a journey to find the supplement that supports brain health with the cleanest of ingredients on the planet. And I found it. I was actually going to start my own company and do this, but I found Laird Superfoods. I've partnered with them. Now I'm a partial owner, and I really believe in these products. Here's my favorite product. Performance Mushrooms by Laird Superfoods. Brain Fuel. You can put this in your coffee, you can put it in your tea, you can drink it raw, you can mix it with their greens, you can do all kinds of stuff. Bottom line is, this is the best possible supplement with the cleanest ingredients, all sourced in the United States, that supports brain health. And here's two other products that I'm a fan of. Laird Superfoods Creamer. Guess what? Contains functional mushroom extracts. Put this in your tea or coffee. And most of you know I'm not a caffeine or coffee drinker, but a lot of you are, and they just happen to have Laird Superfoods coffee, organic Peruvian coffee with, you guessed it, functional mushrooms that support and regenerate your brain. Go to lairdsuperfoods.com, use the promo code SRS, you'll get 20% off. Guys, this is the real deal. These are the finest of ingredients. Check it out. lairdsuperfoods.com, promo code SRS, 20% off. All right, we're back from the break. We had just gone over a brief summary of your entire healing journey since we spoke, or since you were last on the show. And the one portion that we have not covered is your new book, The Way of Rōnin, and how that kind of played a role in your healing process.
It was literally after our last interview, that I started writing my book. And the reason why I say that is because, I wrote 3 chapters of the book, and then I got with a major publishing company, HarperCollins, one of the biggest publishing companies in the world. And I got with them because I needed to understand that landscape. I don't know the book I'm not an author, right? Until now. So with my busy schedule, man, at that point of my in Ronin growth, we were in a new city every other week, training law enforcement, and we were building our company, manufacturing, engineers, very busy. And I was writing a book, right? So I used to write the chapters, and I'll submit my chapters to a ghostwriter I hired through the publishing company, because the ghostwriter knows how to put the fonts, the proper format, they know the landscape, and that's why I hired it. And it got to a point, man, it was just taking a lot of time, to write the book. And I needed to streamline this process with my traveling, with running a business, with everything else. So I got with my ghostwriter. We would do a Zoom call every other week, for a year. So the book took a year to write. And under the contract had been this amount of, words, and, this is the book they wanted. And like, so we signed a contract with HarperCollins. The reason why I wrote the book in the first place is, man, like when I share my story with you, and your platform, it's great. You're doing great stuff, and you have a lot of subscribers, and man, a lot of people reached out to me, just thank me for your show, and just to be, as open as I am, sensitive, sometimes, but to share my journey. And I realized that, and this happened, so 2.5 years I've been getting emails about this show still, So why not help others? Like, why not write a book that's in detail about your struggles and your mistakes and your life and purpose, driven by a warrior's perspective? The Way of Rōnin, HarperCollins. At first, I wanted The Way of the Tiger.
The Way of the Tiger.
Yeah, that
Why?
was the name of the title. I was born to hear the tiger.
All right. That
Right. But they quickly said no. Right? So I'm like, what are you guys thinking? They're like, can we tie it into Call of Duty? Because, Call of Duty is the biggest franchise. So I'm like, okay, The Way of Rōnin. And when I wrote that title, The Way of Rōnin, so Bushido is the way of the warrior. Bushido, the way of the samurai, and they had a code of ethics that they had to live by. Bushido, The code of ethics in war, right, is you got your teammates back. You're going to die on the battlefield for this cause. And after 100 years after war stating periods, Japan, can you imagine, these are peaceful samurais now. They don't have war stating Takagawa yet, so you brought peace to 250 years of war. And they were reflecting on the war stating periods of Japan and what it means to be a wartime samurai. These are peacetime samurais. So in the book of Hakakura, they wrote what it meant to be samurai. And the very first word, Bushido, was ever written in history, in Japanese literature, Bushido. But that happened like 150 years after war stating periods Japan. During war stating periods, there was no such word as Bushido. The war stating samurais only knew as the way. The way is like, when you enter a door, and you got to collapse your sector, and you got to support the number one man going through the door, his 6. You're going to die for that. There's no code for it. There's an unwritten rule, right? So in war stating periods, it was only known as the way. But then, I took deeper meaning to that, like Christianity, the way, God, the flow, Wu Wang, the effortless way. It's Lao Tzu in Confucianism, in Taoism, he talks about the flow, surrender, and to the flow of the universe, right? And before everybody says, oh, that's hocus pocus, right, whatever, the Tao Te Ching that was written by Lao Tzu is the most translated text in the world next to the Holy Bible. And it was written 500 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. And he talked about the way. So I put the way because in my path as a warrior, I found God.
Did that help you heal by revisiting your entire life again, putting it into text?
At first, it put me into because the shadows, and the emotions come out, and you're trying to be as detailed in these descriptions as much as you can remember. And a lot of them, man, is trauma.
Yeah.
So that's surface. But as well as I do, journaling helps trauma healing. And I didn't know at the time, as I was writing, I was healing. I was putting that emotion into words.
Yeah.
I did have a breakdown after the book where I had to retreat to sit with, psychedelics and kind of ground myself. The book wasn't easy to write.
Do you have any? I mean, you're putting something in print that you can never take back, and does that bring you any anxiety?
Of course.
Getting ready for that release?
Of course, yeah. But I've been meditating on it, and I've been praying on it, that, people would take these words and apply it to their life to better themselves, because that's what the word is about. Right?
What part of that book brings you the most anxiety that people are going to read that you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't have put that in there?
No, like my childhood, people, I actually, because I'm on social media. I am an influencer, and if you're successful, people are gonna like you or hate you. And I had people tell me that I never escaped from Vietnam, I was never on a boat, but here I am, I have pictures of it. People told me I was never this, never that, but never served with me. Or people tell me who I am or what they think I am, and they saw me at a certain point in my career. And I'll tell you, my whole career, my military career, wasn't all that outstanding. I wasn't the most stellar soldier. I have my traumas and I have my mistakes too, and so that's what I see coming out of it. Haters gonna hate, the people that support you gonna support you, and it's up to me on how I choose to navigate that.
Last question, then we'll wrap it up. You'd mentioned you want people to learn from your mistakes and that you put your mistakes in that book. What do you think the biggest mistake of your life has been?
At one point I was consumed by a lot of hate. How you talked about your heart when there's a shield around it and you can't feel? Well, I had that my whole life as a child too. And I think back on my history is like, dude, you're born in war. Your family was ripped apart. They got put in prison camps. You escaped genocide on a fucking boat, left for dead for 30 days when you were like 3 years old. That's what the world gave me. And then in the refugee camps, we barely survived, and we made it to the States, we're spit on, flicked off, and told we're nothing. Even in the military, I was told I was nothing. So the thing is this, it's like, when the world gives you shit, do you give the world shit? Do you just let that defeat you? Or do you rise up and be something more? And my book was kind of like that, I didn't know I was rising up to be more, but I did. And God gives us a choice, and I didn't know it at the time, but I chose to be a warrior. Right? And the path of a warrior, man, that's the steepest mountain you can climb. And you fall, you make a mistake, you fall, it's death. Like, when we come out of the battlefield, in our minds, if you lose that battle inside, it's death for us. Because we go there. And, and I saw a lot of my teammates, got out and they suffer and they went down that route, and I lost them. So my book, if I'm able to kind of heal myself through meditation, through spirituality, finding God, through psychedelics or whatever, all that stuff I'm talking about in here, apparently I did something right, then why not give that gift or that answer to people that are suffering in this world? And it's not just soldiers that are suffering, veterans. We got a mental health crisis in America. So why not let people heal? And I talk about like my journey to healing, trying to be a better person. I'm not that great. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But man, I'm a human being that tries.
Once again, man, you got a great message, and a lot of people are going to read that. We get a lot of emails too, from your episode, still to this day, 2.5 years later. And it's one of my favorites. But man, I want to say thank you for coming back on, and again, it's an honor, brother. And
appreciate you.
And man, I can't wait. I can't wait to get this one out there, and I can't wait to see how the book does. I know it's going to do amazing, and I love you, bro.
I love you too, my brother.
A outstanding, just great human being.
Thank you.
Thank you for being who you are. No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.